Let's go to the Spanish Minister of Economy, Trade and Business, Carlos Cuerpo. He joins me from Madrid. Minister, good evening to you. What's taking the EU so long? I mean, China has come out with their thing. I mean, you know, do one thing or do nothing, but do something.
Well, good evening, Richard. Well, actually, I don't think that it is taking us too long. What we want to send, the message that we want to send from the EU side is being cool-headed and really getting into de-escalation with the US, and if possible, actually getting to an agreement with the US authorities. That's what we want. And of course, we want all lines to remain open because we think it's in the interest of everyone. We have a lot to protect here. When you think of how much is at stake, for example, on a daily basis, it's 4.4 billion euros that actually cross the Atlantic in terms of exchange in trade in goods and services. So
right.
There is a lot to lose if we don't come to an agreement, and that's where the EU is. And today we had an important meeting in Luxembourg of ministers of trade, and I think the message of unity and trust going ahead is an important one.
Yeah, but what is that message of unity? What, that you all agree that you're going to agree? I mean, I don't understand. The EU has a lot of meetings about these things, but I'm not sure what is the end purpose.
Well, actually, the message of unity is key for us because we all understand that if we go alone on a separate basis to try and find a deal with whoever we are sitting on the negotiating table, we will be seen and we will be felt as a small country. But being together as one, there we will actually have the scale and we have the power to negotiate and come to fair agreements. That's right. Why it is so important to actually give unity to the negotiating mandate that the Commission has on trade.
So Spain has a lot of exports to the United States. It's a major, right the way, and it's everything from agriculture to machinery to high tech to far. I mean, it is one of the most advanced countries when it comes to where do you and where does the Spanish government stand on retaliation?
Well, again, I think here we all stand pretty much at the same level at the EU, which is keep the lines open, trying to negotiate. But as you just heard President von der Leyen say, we need to be ready to counteract because we need two to tango. We need two to come to an agreement. And if there is no agreement on the line, then of course we will be ready to put countermeasures on the table, both on the first step, which was the measures against steel and aluminium, but also on the second step, which is the measures against the automotive sector and also these general tariffs that were set up last week.
Now, if we look at the headline tariff number, that's misleading because the president then was just talking about non-tariff barriers. So the 20%, to a certain extent, let's just say the 20% was negotiated away. But what the US really wants is to attack the non-tariff barriers, things like VAT on exports, etc.
Well, I mean, from our perspective, you were just talking about Spain. If you look at the figures from Spain, we actually have a deficit in terms of trade with the US from the Spanish perspective. But we think actually that it comes from our specialization and also the US one. We're benefiting from US products. And actually, when you look also at the bilateral stock of foreign direct investment, is a very strong one, pretty much balanced around 100 billion on each and every side, 100 billion euros. So in the end, it's in the benefit of everyone. So just by looking at the deficit is not the proper way to look at the proper impact of the amount of tariffs and even non-tariff barriers. So of course, we're ready to sit down and look at what actually bothers our US counterparts and see to what extent we can come to common spaces. There was a proposal, for example, to go to zero tariffs on the industrial products. So that's the way forward.
I'm grateful to you, Minister. Thank you. I'm sure you and I will end up talking more as this develops. I thank you for your time tonight.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing, Richard?
Course,
can I just add one more point?
Of course,
thank you very much. So it's just when we're talking about this message of confidence, one that we want to send from Spain, but also I think we have to send from the EU is a message of trust and confidence to our own citizens, consumers, and firms and industries, that we will be there to protect them, not only by imposing measures if they're necessary, but also by putting in place a safety net that will protect them while we come to an agreement, and also in the medium term, looking, if necessary, for alternative markets to the EU, if the EU will remain a more closed market than it is now, if the world will be more fragmented.
That's an important point, sir, and it's an important point that you and I need to discuss in the future, the reality of looking at new markets. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a good evening in Madrid, sir. Thank you.